Another day, another tropical system. We have Tropical Storm Martin in the Atlantic, the 13th named storm of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. Martin currently has maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour, minimum central pressure of 997 millibars, and is moving east at 12 miles per hour. Martin is expected to remain primarily a fish storm, but could gain hurricane force intensity sometime on Wednesday before it goes post-tropical. This storm's already starting north of Bermuda, so that transition from tropical to post-tropical is going to happen pretty quickly relative to some other storms. Now let's move on here to the arrival time of winds with wind speed probabilities turned on. And you can see here that no land impacts in this current cone of potential wind speeds, but you can see that the National Hurricane Center has high confidence that this storm will maintain tropical storm force strength through Thursday a.m. earliest arrival time in this purple region, which is 100% chance of that occurring. Next up, let's move on here to the satellite imagery, where we do have Martin here, and you can see that most of the winds and most of the thunderstorm convection is north of the center of the storm, which is where the winds are, the center. And you can see that is a tightly rotating low pressure, a pretty standard mid-latitude tropical storm. So that is going to fall apart fairly quickly. You can see a front starting to form in there. It's just a matter of time before this goes post-tropical. Here's our global hurricane models here showing the track of Martin. And you can see through the next 48 to 72 hours that the track is fairly consistent. Most models showing this slightly, this gradual turn to the north over the next 72 hours with a few outliers. And then potentially either a turn to the east or just a rotation to the east. And some of these models have this storm impacting areas around Great Britain. So here is the GEFS, which shows that spin to the east, as well as that eastern track continuing, but that gradual turn to the north over the next 48 hours. European ensemble is showing that turn to the east, but also that gradual turn to the north over the next 48 hours. So the track for the next 48 hours is very, very consistent, and that is the time frame this storm will remain a tropical system. So moving on here to our intensity guidance. This is where things could go big or go home. So most models have this storm ending up right in this category 1 region, with only, I believe, one model not having this storm gain hurricane force strength. But we do have a few models here showing the storm reaching major hurricane status, as well as a few other models showing that intensity being gained after the next 48 hours, so as a post-tropical cyclone. But generally, between 60 and 72 hours from now, the storm should peak out in terms of wind speeds and start to diminish. So here is the storm, Martin, on our HWRF hurricane model. You can see currently 992 millibars, which is pretty accurate, a little under what the actual amount is, so a little bit stronger in this model here. And you can see that the storm is slowly strengthening by this number here going down. That is the millibar count. The lower the millibar count, the stronger the storm generally is. So 985 here, this is Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and this is all in Eastern time. So the storm peaks out, actually, when it goes further to the north here at 922 millibars. This is obviously a post-tropical cyclone, but as a tropical cyclone, you can see that I think it peaks out here probably right around 970 millibars before it starts to make that post-tropical and that extratropical move here. You can see the difference between this image and this image. You can see that transition happening pretty quickly here. These two images are only about a half a day apart, 12 hours. So that transition from tropical to extratropical is going to happen very quickly. And that is one of the things that we have to time out with this storm. When is the storm going to go post-tropical? Now, let's take a look here at our wind speeds. And specifically with our peak wind speeds, we could also kind of get an idea of when this storm will go post-tropical. Right now, very weak tropical storm. But over the next day or so, the storm should gain hurricane strength here around 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. That is according to this one model, so take it with a grain of salt. Things could happen a few hours apart here based on what model is right. This is just one of the more accurate ones that I like to look at. Now, the storm peaks out here. That is at around Category 2 strength, but at this point, you can see that wind field is very spread out, but also is kind of one-sided, which shows that extratropical cyclone has formed, that post-tropical transition, that extratropical transition has occurred. So as a tropical system, you're hovering right around hurricane force, that 65 to 70 knot wind speeds, which is just barely in hurricane force. But afterwards, this storm gains crazy strength, even up to a Category 2, Category 3 storm in terms of wind speeds before just, I think it might even bomb out a little bit. Bombing out is when the storm drops 24 millibars in 24 hours. So that rapid intensification that we usually talk about with nor'easters, but can happen with extratropical cyclones too. So let's move on to our HWRFP, our expanded view. And in this model here, we can really see that extratropical transition occurring here right around here. So that is 5 p.m. on Wednesday. And at this point, the National Hurricane Center actually has it still as a tropical system, but 8 a.m. Thursday, definitely going to be a extratropical cyclone. Here is Thursday at 8 a.m. You could definitely tell that that is not a tropical system anymore. And that does get very close to Greenland, and you can see a lot of strong winds on the eastern coastline of southern Greenland before the storm ends up making its way into Europe in the UK. So, speaking of the UK, let's take a look here at the total accumulated precipitation here. And as the storm makes its way to the UK, could see some areas at 2 inches of rainfall, potentially. I do not know what that is in centimeters, so don't quote me on that. And if you want to do the conversion yourself, go for it. I do not know that amount myself. But generally, as the storm is progressing, a decent 2 to 6 inches of rainfall could fall with this storm. But that is all the information I have for Martin at the moment. This storm is definitely going to be another cool one to watch, especially as it nears Great Britain and does that extratropical transition and the rapid intensification that the storm will go through as it makes that extratropical transition impact the overall impacts in Great Britain, Ireland in general. So that is all the information I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.